During both World War I and World War II, victory gardens were used to support the war effort, to protect against malnutrition and starvation, and to boost morale for individuals, families, and countries. Current events, such as the pandemic, require a similar effort on our part. And in this video, I have three objectives. Number one, to share how my family is planning our victory garden. Number two, to demonstrate how we chose our garden location. And number three, to show you how you can create your own seed and planting inventory to create your own victory garden. At the end of the video, I'll provide a spreadsheet and links to other tools that you can use to guide your efforts. So let's get started. Hi everybody, my name is Matt and this channel is dedicated to my efforts to become more self-reliant so that I can keep my friends and family healthy and safe during the pandemic. If this is of interest to you, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and notifications buttons so that you can be notified when I post new videos. And please leave any comments or questions or ideas of your own in the comment section below. Thank you. Food will win the war. This was the campaign slogan launched in 1917 by President Woodrow Wilson and Herbert Hoover to support the war effort during World War I. The purpose of this effort was to support food production to feed Allied forces and feed starving civilians across Europe. Out of this effort came campaigns and sayings such as Meatless Mondays and Wheatless Wednesdays. Americans were encouraged by the government to produce more, consume less, live simply, volunteer in their communities, and grow what at the time were called Liberty Gardens. A very similar effort was seen during World War II, where Americans in other Allied countries and their citizens were encouraged to plant victory gardens, again to support the troops and to feed the civilian populace. We were encouraged to do our part by using plots as small as flower pots, rooftops, backyards, and empty lots to increase self-sufficiency and to avoid shortfalls. A famous example of leadership during this time was First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt's planting of a victory garden on the White House grounds. So it's within this historical background and our current crisis that my family began to plan our own victory garden with the following goals. Number one, we wanted to create a sustainable source of food to feed my immediate family. Number two, we wanted to be able to create a surplus that we could trade with our neighbors. And number three, we wanted to use that same surplus to potentially help others less fortunate than ourselves. Basic questions that we wrestled with early on were, what should we plant? How much should we plant? And how do we integrate this entire effort into our children's education? So step one in this entire effort was taking an inventory of our seeds. Part of our planning is taking a thorough inventory of all of our seeds and laying them out on the floor so that we can very quickly identify what we have and what we're missing. And so just by example, these are our peas, those are our beans, we have beets, we have our greens here, collards, kale, spinach, etc. Tomatoes, herb garden is over here, peppers, sweet corn, winter crops such as broccoli, cauliflower, etc. And this enables us to very quickly identify what gaps we have in our planning, and then we correlate this with our spreadsheet, which I'll provide a template to, and then that gives us the ability to say, okay, we need to purchase carrots, for example. We don't have carrots right now. I need more cabbage. I need more lettuce. So that's what we're going to do. If you don't have any seeds or don't even know where to start, an outstanding video about what to plant in a victory garden was produced by the U.S. Department of Education in 1942, and it really stands the test of time. I'm going to provide a link to this video in the notes below. After we took an inventory of our seeds, the next step for us in planning our garden was to look at the available space we had and to measure and clear our beds. Part of our planning is choosing a location for the garden and then measuring it out, staking it, and then actually building it, putting in the soil, putting in the beds, fencing, etc., in order to actually have a good base for the roots and the plants themselves, to have good exposure to the sun. We're on a slope here, and we wanted it to be close to the house with a relatively good southern exposure so it could have nice sun. I'm pointing in the general direction of south. And so this slope serves our needs in terms of being close to the house so that we can protect it from animals that might come in. We live in the mountains of Appalachia, so we have white-tailed deer, black bear, and other animals that'll come in and try to raid the garden. So we want it to be close enough for us to protect it. We also want it to be easy for us to maintain. So efficiency is something that we're definitely thinking about with 2 full-time jobs. We want to be able to maintain the garden, and gardens take a lot of time. So having it close to the house within eyesight is key for us. And so that's what I'm going to be doing right now, is using a notebook and some stakes and some very simple tools such as twine to stake it out, to build it, and to build our beds. Once we had finished taking an inventory of our seed bank and measured how much space we actually had to work with, it was time for step 3, which is actually starting the seeds and filling out our Victory Garden spreadsheet. We started our seeds indoors and recorded all of our efforts in a spreadsheet. And we tried to make this entire gardening effort a real family project, and even included some basic math lessons for the kids, such as finding area in square inches and square feet, so that they increased their knowledge, their buy-in, but also we maximized our time together as a family. Planning and starting a garden are also just great life skills for all of us, and I think everyone really enjoyed pitching in. As we planted our garden and labeled the seeds with the names and the varieties, we entered this information into a spreadsheet, and I've also made a copy of this for your use as well. And at the end of the video, I'll show you how to make a copy so that you can then start your own Victory Garden. The spreadsheet's aligned with vegetables recommended by the original Victory Garden literature, and it's also cross-referenced with several gardening books that I've included links to, including Gardening When It Counts, which provides an in-depth analysis of what, when, and how you should plant if you're really counting on your garden to feed your family. The act of putting this garden together is not only a great way for our family to spend time together and to combat anxiety, there's also something deeply satisfying about spending time outdoors trying to grow food. And the research supports that. A recent meta-analysis documents that gardening provides significant positive effects on overall health, and I'm providing a link to that study as well. So now it's your turn, and the first step in your turn is to make a copy of the spreadsheet. And so I have here the Victory Garden Plan template. This is yours to use as you see fit. To make a copy of it, it's very easy. You click on File, make a copy, name it what you want, and then put it in your Google Drive to use. And what I've tried to do is provide some information to guide our efforts, but also hopefully to guide your efforts. And column A is timing. You can actually get 2 harvests out of a garden from spring to summer to early fall. And column B are all the vegetables that we're planting. And I've also put in the parentheses the amount of rows and plants that the original Victory Garden literature recommends, but strictly a recommendation. Column C are the varieties of plants that we're doing. And then column D is my effort to actually cross-reference that 1942 literature against more modern survival garden books, such as Gardening When It Counts, which I've already mentioned. And then I've got a whole bunch of other information in here, such as did we plant them indoors? If so, when did we do that? Is it a direct sow plant? How much space does it need, etc. Step 2 in your turn is to actually buy your seeds and start your garden. And we use 2 companies which I would highly recommend. The first of which is Victory Seed Company. And if you recall from the beginning of the video, I referenced the fact that we had seeds which were 10 years old that we were attempting to germinate. And I'm thrilled to say that about 90% of those seeds that we started 2 weeks ago from this company have germinated, despite the fact that they're 10 years old. And I think that's a testament to the quality of the work that they do and their seed stock. And so victoryseeds.com is where you can find those. The second company that we use is Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. Again, a fantastic group of individuals really doing some important work for their communities. And I'll provide links to both of those organizations in the video notes below. So in closing, I'd like to emphasize that we really try to focus on progress and not necessarily perfection, and we focus on daily actions working towards our goal rather than getting everything right. You don't need a lot of land or a lot of expertise to get started. I think the most important thing for us and for all of our communities is really just to get started. Think about what you can do today, even if it's simply a tomato plant in an old jug, a milk jug, or a flower pot. To me, that's more important and more satisfying than doing research on the best way to do all of this. I'd also recommend getting some good books. There's a lot of gardening books out there, but there's three that I would recommend as strong guides. The first of which is a book that I've already mentioned, Gardening When It Counts. Another book which is great is Mini Farming, Self-Sufficiency on a Quarter Acre. And then the third book I would recommend is a book called Stocking Up. And I'll provide links to all of those below in the video notes as well as other areas. Good luck with your garden. If this is something that is interesting to you or you find of value, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. And thank you very much for your time.